Welcome back to my video. You might recall that I started with this sketch last time and it's now dry enough for me to do another coat. So the first one was just blocking in the basic colours, and now I will try and make a nice painting. So here goes. I kind of had the idea of a purpley nighttime scene with some moonlight, but I don't know how that's going to work out. But if it doesn't, well then maybe I'll change it to I don't know, green it up and make summer trees instead. Yeah. So I need to put a little more linseed oil on. You might recall the last time that for the first coat we just blocked in with some Gamsol. So the fat over lean principle, which you'll often hear referred to regarding oil painting, is that the next layer always has to have a little more oil than the previous layer because they dry at different speeds. So that's why you need to take account of that. So I'm just going to put in some sort of structure here with the trees. And as you can see, I did it very loosely, and I kind of like that purpley dark shade that's coming up. That's sort of what I wanted, all right. Just so it would look like sort of a nighttime scene. So we'll just put some of that around the trees initially. Keeping it very loose just to get in some. You don't want the whole thing covered in leaves, because you want to leave some effect for kind of light coming through, and also to give the shape of the, maybe the shape of the trees silhouetted in the background. So we'll just continue with that a little on this side as well. And need to get a little more shape onto this side. I don't much like the shape that's there. What I was looking to do was to get the kind of the clumpiness of the ivy that grows on the trees in Ireland. In around here where we are, a lot of the trees get that clumpy ivy sort of climbing up on them. So in the night though, it makes a strange but a lumpy shape that I kind of like. So I'm also trying to get that in here, which is why it has that odd shape, because I want it a bit knobbly there, and also a bit knobbly here on that center of the trunk, because that's sort of the way it grows on the trees. We can work on other aspects too. Maybe start having a look at the background. We want some silhouettes there, maybe two. And Stuart Davis always says to look at the painting and see what it suggests to you. Play around with it and see what comes out. So I'm trying to do that. Hope it works for me. Won't be as good as his, I don't think, but we keep trying. Anyway, so that's just a little more linseed oil. Putting in these darker colours first. And just, as I said, sort of playing about a bit. Same on this side. I'll build up a little there, kind of like that sort of wild bush peeping out there. We will also have to try and get a bit of perspective in, so we might do that with the aid of some lighter colours. But I have to work a bit on this, on the background as well as the foreground. But okay, so maybe we should be right now looking at some of the shapes of the trunks. So I'm just taking a little more sort of grey for that, because I don't want those to be too purpley. And we can do some highlights on those later, but not at this point. The lightest lights go on at the end for detail, at least. So a little bit of blue and a little bit of purple. We need to get a thinner brush, or even that's this one. Sometimes the knife is good for silhouettes, but we're not quite getting it there. Okay, we need to rethink that one. Can also sometimes scrape through grasses in this manner. I don't want that ivy part scraped through though. Now we will want some sort of lightness in the surrounding parts as well. I need to get a smaller brush to do the silhouettes, but we'll come back to that. Right now I just want to get the colour right for what I want to mix along here, so that we get some kind of a pathway that's maybe enlightened in the moonlight. Now that's a nice contrast with the purpley effect. Yeah, it works well. Okay, so we'll continue with that for the moment. It's just to get things moving, and we can mucky that a bit too as we go along, so that it doesn't look sort of too artificial. We do need some colour in there. I find the linseed oil today is a bit thicker than I normally get, so that's not something I've come across before. So I guess now I'll have to start looking at brands so that I can kind of get the thing that I prefer. Not so sure I like this being so thick, but I'm loath to add a solvent in, because it might dry too quickly over the base coat then. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of having fun just playing about with shapes and colours here. Not an awful lot suggested to me over there, so we'll have to come back to that, I think. But maybe before I do the silhouettes as well, it might be a good time to think of a little bit more about the colour, the light colour that's coming through there. I want that to look kind of moonlighty, so maybe we'll whiten it there a little. Well, see what happens. You make mistakes sometimes, and then you just try clean them off with a paper towel. Not good to make mistakes like this on your video. Or maybe it is, because then you can see that it certainly doesn't all happen perfectly. It is a messy business, no matter what. Okay, so again we're getting some of that mixture in there, but we won't fuss too much about it. And that's just a little, maybe a little too white, but I wanted that light, but then tinted with the yellow, which is Hansen yellow, isn't it? You know, actually a citron lemon I have. Oh, that was Hansen. I think it's because I heard that name during the week on a video I was watching. Okay, now again, that's very vivid there, very strong. I kind of want the build-up of it, but I do want it also mixing with the white on the palette. So you see I'm getting a better feel for it there. And maybe the brightest light up at the highest point there. Now, I'm not sure if I think I want, we can put in some sky holes later too. I'll show you how to do that because it's a bit wet for doing those now. But that's just to show you basically that you can do that too, even if you fill in too much with leaves. Now I did have a red there. I just wanted to try a little teeny tiny bit of red, maybe on the palette. There's too much on that. Oops, purple on that. So let's see. Yeah, we use a little bit of linseed oil and spread it with the white. And we can mix it all then like this. Now again, you can see that I'm not too worried, even if it doesn't work out exactly as I wanted it to, because what I don't like, I'll just scrape out again. I don't really like that colour, wasn't really what I wanted. Maybe I should have just used yellow and red without white. Might have given the kind of orangey effect I wanted, but not really getting it with that anyway. So we'll take it out. Oh, you're seeing it all happening piece by piece. Okay. Now we keep going, and I'm not very pleased with that part, but we can resolve that later. I don't want to spend too much time fiddling. Oh, it's almost irresistible too. There we go. And there. See, some of that's going to be covered by more leaves anyway, so. Okay, we'll go back to the silhouettes, I think. Back to our grey, Payne's grey, and that's, what colour is that? These are all Winsor Newton artist soil colours. This one is violet. Okay, so we're mixing Payne's grey and violet. And I think we might get the silhouettes with this brush here. Yeah, something like this. That can be your branches and your tree trunks. So I'll bring this one out a little more. Yeah, like this one, flied hue. Okay. And then some up here. Start to get a bit of shape here. And tree branches, they do squiggle like that, don't they? mostly anyway. Some of them are straight, but they're boring if they're too straight. I want to give them a bit of oomph. So we'll go in this way, and we'll try and get a nice shape on this one here. And keep the clumpies as well. So I have some kind of outlines there of branches made since the first, since the underpainting, and then I'm just going in, kind of elaborating on those if you like. And what you don't want is for your trees to be too perfect, because then they look false. They just don't hit right. Okay, I can bring this part out later, but at the moment it's a wee bit too wet now to do what I want to do. Okay, a little more there. You can see what I'm kind of doing with the edge of the brush, trying to get shapes. And sometimes you can also do this with the thinner brushes as well, but right now I don't see too many of those in my immediately before me, and I don't want to have to go looking, so we'll work with what we have for now. I'm getting a good kind of purpley grey colour on the trees that I like, purpley and Payne's grey. And a little bit of Prussian blue in there too. I'm going to leave that large sort of hole in the tree there, because it is good to have the light peeping through. And then to bring a bit of perspective in, we might need to do some sort of smaller trees in the distance. Peeking out, you see there's two things that give us the impression of perspective. The two most common things, there's lots of things, lots of tricks, I don't have them all, but the most common things are the light and the size of the items, of the objects that you're painting. So like here we're having some bigger, thicker kind of growth right at the edge here. But if we do some sort of little trees in the distance there, or even clumpy little shapes, then things begin to look as if they're far away. But now, as I've painted the faraway things there, they're quite dark looking. We can alter that with highlights later. We could maybe make that a little more serpentine if we bring it around this way, and then we've got a little more room for the smaller sort of growth in the distance. Okay. A little like that. And also might do something like that up here, just to set it down. Maybe start some trees there. Well, they don't all have to be trees, they can also be just bushes and things. You know, the kind of things that grow on the edge. And the fields are pretty much always divided into sections with edges of trees and shrubs of every description. Now we still have it quite dark over there at the sky part, but I kind of want it that way because